Welcome to Boulder City Council meeting. We appreciate you all being here. The meeting will be called to order. Confirmation of posting and roll call, Madam City Clerk.
Thank you. The agenda was posted in accordance with Nevada open meeting law, and all members are present.
Thank you. We'll now arise for Pastor Kurt Hedlund to offer the invocation for us, after which we will have the Pledge of Allegiance so you can continue standing. Appreciate it, Pastor.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we are so grateful to live in this community. We recognize the many blessings we have just living in this place. We're thankful for having a relatively safe community, a community in which the schools have a good reputation, a community in which there's so many volunteer organizations. We're thankful for all the recreational opportunities we have, for being able to live right next to a national park. We're thankful for all the land with which we're blessed, and that gives us opportunities for additional revenue, which many communities do not have. So guide these city leaders in the use of these resources. We recognize that we have an aging swimming pool in town that needs to be addressed, and we recognize the fire department has identified a need for additional station. So pray that you might make the path clear to deal with these situations. We recognize that in issues that come before this council, there are often many different perspectives, and so give these council members wisdom, the ability to think and do what's best for the long term rather than the short term, to be open and transparent, to be honest. Give a high sense of conscience, not only to these city council members, but also to members of this administration. May they be concerned to do what's right, even though it may not always be the easiest path. So guide this meeting now. May there be a spirit of civility about it. And I pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. You can rise with us and participate in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We appreciate the insightful invocation, Pastor. Thank you. Pastor Hedlund is from the Bethany Baptist Church. In the way of public announcements, we had a proclamation, which I will read. Whereas we, the citizens of Boulder City, place a high value on local choice over community services, and therefore have chosen to operate a community-owned, not-for-profit electric utility, and as customers and owners of our electric utility have a direct say in utility operations and policies. And whereas Boulder City Utilities electrical services provide our homes, businesses, schools, and social service and local government agencies with reliable, efficient, and safe electricity, employing sound business practices designed to ensure the best possible service at not-for-profit rates. And whereas Boulder City Utilities electrical services is a valuable community asset that contributes to the well-being of local citizens through energy efficiency, customer service, environmental protection, economic development, and safety awareness. And whereas Boulder City Utilities Electrical Services is a dependable and trustworthy institution whose local operation provides many consumer protections and continues to make our community a better place to live and work, and contributes to protecting the global environment. And whereas Boulder City Utilities Electrical Services will continue to work to bring low-cost, safe, reliable, and sustainable electricity to community homes and businesses, just as it has since 1960, the year when the utility was created to serve all the citizens of Boulder City. And whereas we recognize the people behind public power at Boulder City Utilities Electrical Services for their contributions to the community and to educate consumer owners, policymakers, and employees on the benefit of public power. And now, therefore, I, Joe Hardy, Mayor of Boulder City, Nevada, do hereby proclaim October 1st through the 7th, 2023, as Public Power Week and encourage our community join hands with more than 2,000 other public power systems in the United States in this celebration of public power, which puts our residents, businesses, and community before profits. In witness thereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of Boulder City to be affixed this 11th day of September 2023. In view of that Public Power Week, we would like to invite Joe Stubitz to come up and take a few moments and, as Director of Utilities, teach us, and if you would please also give recognition to the people who work with you on our utility.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Next week is Public Power Week. Much of the power that we get in Boulder City is actually produced from public sources, federal hydropower, and really we can't make it happen without the people. So, I'd like to especially recognize the folks that are here tonight. If I can have you guys stand. Mark Martin, he's an electrician, metering, and streetlight technician. Frank Apicecci, electric line worker. Gary Poindexter, utilities superintendent. Josh Hardy, utilities analyst. Jim Keene, city engineer. Skip Spillman, development service and conservation specialist. And Bill Bruniga, utility engineer. So, there we go. These folks are working every day to make sure that the lights stay on, that every incident is responded to, and power is restored as safely and as quickly as possible. So I appreciate the opportunity and the recognition. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all. Appreciate what you're doing and appreciate you being here. Oh, we need a picture. Yes. So if you all would all come up, and then the city council will be there with you so that we can take credit for everything you do.
Let's all scrunch in a little bit.
Yep, scratch in. See.
You guys are the most important.
All right. Oh, that's good. That's it right there. I'm going to take a couple of them, okay? So keep your eyes open. All right, here we go. One more. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Seeing no other public announcements, we'll move to public comment. During this portion of the agenda, the items are limited to those that are on the agenda in public comment, and each person has up to 5 minutes to speak. And this specific agenda item that's on the agenda. Those of you that are here to make public comment, please come forward, write your name, identify yourself, and feel free to speak. Take as long as you want, as long as it's less than 5 minutes.
Anyway, I'm Dr. Valerie McNay, and I'm a 30-year resident of Boulder City. I love Boulder City, and I think Boulder City deserves a new pool. And I've been having this I was on the ad hoc swimming pool advisory committee from 2019 to 2020, and we got these ballot questions passed. you know, and now it's 2023 and we need money. So anyway, agenda number 10, right, they're going to be talking about the Track 350, as I understand it, which is the source of the money for the pool, as I've been told, the majority of it. And so I know it's on the agenda tonight, item number 10, and I know that the council had previously rejected the Toll Brothers design, claiming it was too high density, if I recall. And so now it appears the Toll Brothers have submitted a new design, and I'm no engineer, and I don't know all this financial everything, but I just want to say that we need, you know, with that 40-year-old pool that's falling apart, and we need, you know, to include competitive meets, swim lessons, water exercise, special events, and we really, it's a quality of life thing, just like all of, I think, Parks and Rec is. I'm on that commission too. And I think that really is what a lot of us love about Boulder City, even when we're old like me. And so, and like I have a triathlon to do on Saturday, so I have to be able to train in the pool, I have to be able to bike on the trails, and I need to be able to, I just walk these days, I don't run that much anymore. But please, I think that an anonymous donor, I'm aware, I contributed like $1.3 million to the new pool, and I hope that money's being protected somewhere. And also, reportedly, the city has over $12 million in a swimming pool fund. We're waiting for more funds from the sale of Track 350. So just do it! Get us a pool.
Match that. Next person who wants to come up, please do. And do we have anyone on the phone line, 702-589-9629? Do we have any written comments in?
No written comments.
Okay. And we'll wait 1 minute for 702-589-9629 if someone would like to call in. And while we're waiting, somebody in the room would like to come up but don't know that they want to come up, so you'd have a time to say whatever you want according to the agenda. And seeing none, knowing we have another public comment, if we can, we will. Okay.
Public comment?
Okay, state your name for the record.
Yes, for the record, Fred Volz. Good evening, Council. Regarding the airport ground leases, it is a great disservice to the residents of Boulder City that the renewal rates proposed in agenda item number 9 spreadsheet are still well below market rates. The city would not be turning a profit in charging market rates, as has been recently suggested, but fully funding its share of extensive forecasted capital investments and improvements benefiting the lessees. Where will the city's share of that cost otherwise come from given its enterprise fund status? No alternative funding source has been proposed. Looking at the details of agenda item number 10, it is concerning that all three options still do not provide sufficient funding for the proposed pool complex, which is an excessively inappropriate initiative for a town of less than 15,000, where relatively few residents use the city pool. The number of unique residents who use the existing pool has never been documented by the Parks and Recreation Department. Moreover, there are many public swimming pools around the country that are still performing well because they've been consistently maintained far beyond 40 years. The lack of ongoing maintenance has caused BC's 40-year-old pool to prematurely fail long before the end of its ordinary useful life. That false statistic, a 40-year useful life, was provided by the SCR Design Group. Will a new pool of any type fail to receive ongoing maintenance? Who will ensure adequate maintenance since Parks and Recreation did not do so with the existing pool under one manager and multiple city councils and city managers? If the best case Toll Brothers revenue scenario were to be adopted, the city is still short over $8 million from the optimistic pool complex cost projection offered by the SCR Design Group. How will that deficit be closed, especially with full funding not readily available to begin the project? More delay will escalate project costs far beyond the $39 million. The $39 million is considerably above what voters were told, which was $29 million. The SCR consultant who recently appeared before you with a revised cost estimate also failed to do the necessary due diligence in establishing the number of existing private pools in BC, which number just under 1,000 per a Google Map aerial search. The private glut of local swimming pools also undercuts the need for an expansive municipal pool complex. For swimming competitions and team training, Henderson's Black Mountain Pool facility could be used. A basic single pool could be immediately built in Boulder City with the $12+ million immediately available. Scaling back this project to reflect actual pool utilization, available funds, and anemic community demand makes good fiscal and public policy sense. When voters approved use of the Track 350 money for a pool, they were not told that the sales proceeds would be diverted from other pressing and deferred capital projects around BC, only that their taxes would not be increased. That assertion was a misnomer, since other urgent and more widely beneficial projects that might have been funded with the diverted funds will need funds from other sources, namely local taxpayers. Any of the three proposed Toll Brothers scenarios does not offer our community one bit of new affordable housing for the many people in this community struggling to pay escalating rent on limited incomes. A better alternative exists than spending land sales money on an overblown pool complex few residents will use. Instead, Council needs to ask voters to redirect these funds toward building an affordable housing complex, perhaps retrofitting the derelict Elaine K. Smith Center, or if that is not financially or structurally viable, remove the Smith Center altogether and start with a new building on the same site. There might be additional currently owned city sites that could be used in the alternative if they are proximate to shopping, services, and transportation. And I would ask that these comments be added verbatim to the record for the meeting tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Any other public comment here in the room or online or written?
None on the line.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam City Clerk. We will move to the approval of the regular agenda. Accept a motion.
Move to approve regular agenda.
I'll second that.
Moved and approved. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. It has been approved. And then approval for the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
And any discussion we don't need. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. It has been approved. No opposed. And we'll move to the regular agenda. Our Clark County School District Boulder City Municipality Report. Dr. Deanna Jasklowski, who is coming forward. Go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Deanna Jaskolski. I proudly serve as the Region 3 Superintendent, which includes Boulder City. I have a status update regarding the compliance with NRS 388G. There are no concerns of noncompliance. And I have our celebrations from our wonderful schools here in Boulder City. I'll start with Boulder City High School. Celebrations for Boulder City High School. Boulder City, as you know, was named a 5-star school. They increased their math proficiency from 37% to 42%, increased their ELA proficiency, and decreased their chronic absenteeism. They increased the number of students enrolled in our advanced placement courses to 97 students. They increased the amount of students in our dual credit course, so they're enrolled in high school as well as college credit courses, to 108 students. And they wanted to share what a great success homecoming was, and that all the Boulder City schools that participated that make memories to last the lifetime. For Garrett Junior High School, their STEM curriculum is up and running. Their intermediate STEM class designed a prototype of an ankle assist prosthetic for a child with cerebral palsy, and will design it with 3D printing. Garrett has increased their enrollment of students in accelerated classes by 20% for this school year, where approximately 60% of their 60% of the sixth graders are enrolled in one or more accelerated course. 58% of the 7th grade students are enrolled in one or more, and 52% of the 8th graders are enrolled in one or more. The Lady Bobcats and Boys Bobcat flag football teams are undefeated in their division and are excited about this season. Student Council has planned several Spirit Days and raised money for the victims in Maui, Hawaii. They're fortunate to have 2 members of their impact team who at their school to serve students have experienced trauma, and they're there every day to work with their students. Bobcat Time is a new time at Garrett Junior High School, where they have the opportunity to interact with their teachers in more of a low-risk environment, where they interact in origami and beading and things of that nature to build those relationships and sense of belonging to the school, which contributes to our decrease in chronic absenteeism, as we know. They've partnered with the University of Nevada to offer 4-H after school, basketball, archery, explorers of the deep, and sewing. They're going to build a community garden, and their STEM explorations class is going to be working with that. And they're hoping to find community partners that will help them with the garden. Martha P. King was named a 4-star school based on the 22-23, so last year's test results. They saw significant growth in math and reading, as I've shared at the multiple municipality updates, approximately 7% growth in math and almost 5% in reading, and they decreased their chronic absenteeism by more than 10% from the prior year. So all of our schools in Boulder City want to thank our community, our families, and the support of the council to ensuring the focus on attending school and decreasing that chronic absenteeism component. They raised $31,000 during the fall fundraiser. It's going to be to continue to reinvest in science for their Green Their Planet of their STEM lab, which is their hydroponics garden. And they're now part of the Garden Connect program that offers a gardener to each school to support the growth of their fruits and vegetables. And then from the social emotional learning to foster and build that trust with students, again, which contributes to that decrease in chronic absenteeism. During the last survey, we increased by 7% the total number of students that a teacher and adult could be counted on no matter what at their school. And 90% of their students believe that to be the case of their staff. And lastly, for Mitchell Elementary School, all of their students, their K-2 of course, just finished their fall benchmark assessment. They take in the fall and the winter and the spring. 76% of their students are proficient in reading, and their goal is to get that number over 80%. And more specifically, they have a goal of 85% for their second grade students to demonstrate proficiency on the MAP assessment. So they're prepared to move to King Elementary School. 73% of the students demonstrated proficiency on the fall assessment for MAP, and they want to have that goal upwards of 80% by the end of the year. And for social emotional learning, but they have decreased their chronic absenteeism to 18%, where it was at 27% in the spring of last year, so they're proud that things are moving in the right direction. They've sent attendance goals. They have 2 student leaders to update their scoreboards for attendance that are posted in the hallway to a constant reminder of that goal. And they meet, when they meet this goal, their student leaders assist Mr. Day with playing music over the intercom on every day on Friday to allow them to dance in their class. After all, as he says, the word dance is in attendance. As everyone knows, in terms of social emotional leading at Mitchell, the leader in me is their support. They want students to feel more connected and give students the leadership roles in school. In addition to a variety of classroom roles, they want the students, they have a student photographer for assemblies, a student who organized the distribution of the reading dog tags, and the aforementioned student attendance leaders who are responsible for tracking their goals. Their environment continues to be strong, and Mr. Day is convinced that when students see themselves as leaders who are needed in their school, they will act accordingly. With that being said, I want to publicly thank Mr. Day for just his incredible leadership and the impact that he's had on the lives of our students and staff and community and family, and to know that he will be sadly missed. He'll leave a huge hole at that school, but to know that the impact that he's made on our community will never, ever be forgotten. With that being said, I want to share as well, just a little bit off the agenda, that the most important job that we have in the region office as school associates is to hire the next principal. And we take that job very, very, very seriously. We know that the principal and the leader of the school is of the utmost importance to have the right person. As we know, we can never fill Mr. Day's shoes. We work very closely with the school school organizational team, the SOT, and talking with them about desirable traits and characteristics that they want to see in their next principal, working very closely with the SOT team members throughout the interview process in that. And with that, any questions that you may have on the report that's been submitted as well?
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, just regarding the hiring of the new principal. So if he's retiring the end of this month,
Yes.
so interim,
Yeah, so the position has flown, and so the position has closed. And so what, through our HR process, those that are interested, that have met the minimum qualifications, apply through Human Resources. We then vet to make sure that they meet those qualifications. The school associate superintendent, who's Mr. Ron Gerzon, works very closely with myself in screening the list. We then provide screening interviews from that list, and then we'll narrow that list down to, based on the desirable traits and characteristics from the students in the school and the community through the SOT, move the candidates forward to the SOT interviews. Those are closed interviews for the school organizational team. They make their recommendation to move on to Dr. Jara. Dr. Jara, our superintendent, our deputy superintendent, myself, and a representative of the SOT is then in the final interview process with Dr. Jara for the selection of the principal. Yes, there will be an interim. We just solidified that actually this afternoon, and Mr. Schrock will step in for us.
he'll be doing both schools
He will.
then? Okay. And do you have an estimation or just even an idea of how long that process usually takes or what?
About 3 weeks or so, depending.
That's a lot to get done in 3 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. and of course, we knew that this was, forthcoming. And so working with the school and the desirable traits and characteristics and moving forward in that manner. Because again, we know that the leader is the most important piece in that school, coupled with the teachers, of course, and that we want to do it well and do it right. But we also want to make sure that we don't go too long without a leader. And we're, confident that Mr. Schrock will do a wonderful job in the interim for us.
Great. And I'm just really excited that we have a decrease overall in chronic absenteeism. So that tells me that kids are wanting to go back to school and be in school and stay there. And it's a fun place for them to be and they feel needed there. So I was happy to see that. Thank you.
Am I allowed to ask if a current city council person could serve as a principal?
As long as they meet the qualifications, Mayor.
Some of us have more experience than others. Thank you. Any other, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you to all the teachers in Boulder City because they've done, it sounds like a great job because scores are coming up and that's what we want to see. I hope they go up a little higher, but I really want to say thank you to all the teachers out there that have done a great job and have improved these scores. So please relay that to them. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Are there, do we keep count of how we've succeeded at how many students come from someplace elsewhere to come to our schools in Boulder City?
So from out of district?
Not out of the district, but in the district, but not within the city of Boulder City.
Yes, we do. So we have opportunity with the change of school assignment process for students and families to be a part of, and I can provide you with that data.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Go
May I
ahead.
please? Thank you for shining the spotlight on the accomplishments of our leaders and students in Boulder City. I'd like to echo your recognition of Mr. Day for all of us that have had family members. In my case, it's grandchildren that have been at that school while he's been there in his leadership capacity. And we happen to know Mr. Day, his parents, and we've known him long before he was ever Mr. Day. And we're truly grateful for Mr. Day. I hope the message gets out to him in some fashion. In many ways, the gratitude that our parents, grandparents, and community members have for all that he's done for the community of Boulder City. So I just want to echo that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that comment because it's so true on so many different levels in our community. Any other comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming. You can stay for the whole thing if you'd
I
like.
appreciate the offer, sir.
Now we shall watch.
And we'll close item number 6, move to item number 7, the Workforce Connections update with the Community Investments in American Job Centers. Jamie Jaime Cruz and Irene Bustamante Adams, one of my favorite people from legislative days.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Jaime Cruz for the record. We will be presenting here with my colleague, Reem Bustamante Adams. As the mayor said, served 8 years in the Nevada Assembly and now is serving on the Clark County School District Board of Trustees. Don't ask me what's wrong with her. If you want to know, please ask her yourself. But she loves public service, so we love to have her. The first thing I'd like to say is it's great to be back. We haven't been here almost 2 years. There was this little flu going around the world that kind of kept us, away, but we're glad it's behind us. I think it was called COVID or something like that. You guys remodeled the place, which I love. It looks very modern, very clean, so congrats to whoever that interior designer was here on the staff. And then also to start by thanking, I know, Mayor, last time we saw you was at City of Las Vegas. Mayor Goodman hosted a small business event. You were kind enough to join us with the other mayors, and as always, provided a doses of comedic relief in your style, which is always good. Also to give thanks to Councilman Fox, who gives us hours of his time in the governance of our organization, Workforce Connections, or Southern Nevada's local workforce development board. Travels with us when we ask him, so thank you, for lending him to us. And I know I see some new faces, so we'll tell you a little bit more about us so you can get familiar with our organization, and we hope that to continue to come back every year to give you updates on the work that we're doing. So let's go ahead and get started, and here is the button. They told me the one that's rubbed off is the one I need to use, so I'm going to get started. Again, you know who we are now. Just let me give you a quick brief of who we are, for those of you who might not know. There are 575 local workforce development boards across the country. We're the one for Southern Nevada. There's 2 in our state. There's another one in Northern Nevada. And we convened this thing called the One-Stop Delivery System. It looks like this. There's 17 funding streams to the government, and this is where it goes blah, 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 and I don't want you to fall asleep. So just, we are called to try to convene all these funding streams and put them into these things called American Job Centers so that job seekers can connect with the employers that need them. That's the bottom line. So we try to bring together, again, collaborative efforts that benefit the region as a whole. And quite simply, we try to connect employers to a ready workforce. So what's happened since the last time we were here? A lot. Our brand used to be called a One-Stop Career Center, but because we've made a lot of progress, we now have a state brand that's called EmployNV. It stands for Employing Nevadans, and we have 3 flavors of these American Job Centers. One of them is exclusive or focused on employers, and we call those business hubs. And today you're going to hear a little bit about our efforts with Jill, our friend Jill from the Chamber of Commerce here. Our second version is called a career hub, and those locations are really focused on the job seekers. And our third one is about youth. This federal money has a target population of youth between the ages of 16 and 24, and we'll tell you more about that as well. What else happened that's really noteworthy? In the last year, in 2022, we launched our first ever regional industry sector partnerships. We've always, for a few years, we've had 7 target sectors that the LVGA, or the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, includes in the CEDS, or that stands for Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. And they say we have to diversify our economy. And so these are the 7 sectors that we're working on together to try to, again, not have all our eggs in that hospitality basket. And so we convened employers, small, medium, and large, across these 7 sectors last year, and really talked to them about their needs. And you know what they are. Employers just can't find workers. It's just, that's the reality. And so we have been hard to work. We're going to tell you a little bit about what we're doing. Some of it is, quite frankly, just helping organize large hiring fairs. And so in 2023, this year, we had our largest one at the West Las Vegas Convention Center. I believe there was, well, I got the papers here. I don't have to remember I can tell you there was 2,800 people who attended the event. 135 employers were there with 20,000 available open positions. 300 job offers were made on the site right there, and an additional 2,000 or so offers after follow-up interviews and background checks. And the event also included free on-site childcare for job seekers, which just happens to be one of the problems right now with people who are not engaging back in the workforce. So we also had a unique thing called the after party. Don't ask me about that because I'm in bed by 8, but I guess the after party is something that's very popular. And it included, and it was an online event after the actual job fair. And so a bunch of employers and job seekers kept the party going, if you will, after the event. This is what we were talking about. Mayor Hardy joined us at the City of Las Vegas, at this thing organized by the United States Conference of Mayors Workforce Development Council, which we happen to have a seat. Workforce Connections is one of the 20 boards across the nation that has a seat on this council. So they picked our city of the first of 3 to bring a Wells Fargo-sponsored initiative to how do we help small businesses and entrepreneurs grow in our region. And you'll hear more about the fruits of that meeting in the next few months. Another great thing that happened was these American Job Centers, usually across the nation, are usually in government buildings. And in our case, about 4 years ago, we started to really, how do we reach, as you know, renting a building is expensive. And so you can only have so many locations. But 4 years ago, we reached out to our libraries and said, can you make space for us so that we can offer these services in your libraries? And it's really grown. It started with the Las Vegas Clark County Library District, went on to North Las Vegas, Henderson, and of course here in Boulder City. Since then, it's gone to chambers of commerce, municipalities, community centers, and this right here, just last month, is the first ever business. So this is a for-profit business, a private business that's hosting our American Job Center at no cost to us. What does that mean? Well, that after 40 years of being federally funded, this is the first time that an employer said, I find so much value in this proposition that I want to host the work. And all these locations, it adds up to almost a little over $1 million that we are deferring in rent, maintenance, janitorial. And that extra $1 million goes to serve more people and small businesses. So that's what that means. And all these things have, over the last 3 years, have won us 3 national awards, 2020, 22, and 23. We hadn't gotten one in the last 20 years, so I think we're doing really well right now. Again, thanks to the LEOs that help us govern the agency and support our work and our partners. And to tell you more about those collaborative efforts, I'm going to pass it on to Irene.
Thank you, Mayor Hardy, council members. Appreciate your public service. So this is about our collaborative efforts. Jaime talked a lot about what we're doing in the partnerships with libraries, with chambers of commerce, but there's more. And I hope that you're pleased with those efforts because people talk about the fact that we, in general, work in silos, but we are working hard to break down those barriers and make sure that there's collaboration so that there's efficiency in how we serve the public. So one of the initiatives that we had is our alignment with the Nevada Department of Health and Human Services, right? There's a lot of people that are still on food stamps or on Medicaid or need welfare services in order to thrive in our economy. And also with entities like the Nevada Department of Corrections. Today, we opened up a career hub inside I just forgot Casa Grande, which is the facility. If you're transitioning out of one of our prison institutions, you would go there before your release, 18 months to help you transition. So the alignment of the collaborative efforts, because we're serving the same clients that your employers need for their workforce. So it's looking at alternative labor pools, people that need to get off public assistance or may need a second chance to get back into the workforce. That alignment is happening, and we're convening and being able to drive our strategic plan with them. In addition, our partnership with the Clark County School District, we are braiding our funding so that our funds with Clark County School District funds and the public education are looking at our teacher pipeline. What we're doing is helping to fund the financial needs of the support staff that want to become teachers, right? It's a cost. And so we want to remove those barriers so that they can become licensed teachers. And so we're blending our funds in order to make that happen. And that's another example of a collaborative effort. The other 3 that I want to mention is our Disconnected Youth Coalition. So we have the data that there's about 40,000 youth between the ages of 16 and 24 that have checked out of the workforce pipeline. They are not going to school or they're not gainfully employed. So that's a very high number for our region. And so what we have done is to start convening 14 plus organizations that serve youth and figuring out together what we can do and be intentional to drive that strategy. And so very excited about that. We've actually received grant dollars to be able to fund a position to make sure that we keep driving that solution forward to address that need. The second one is this Workforce Fellows. So we, a couple of years ago, had the idea to be able to take some of our funding to train school counselors in order to know about the funds that we have. They're called the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Funds that we get from the federal government. It's supposed to be used for paying and removing barriers for either training or post-secondary educational needs of Southern Nevadans. And so we have taken the school counselors and embedded them into our initiative so that they can learn about how to use our resources. Why is that important for you guys? It's because the school counselor is one of the main contacts on the campus. If a child's not going to go on to a traditional 4-year path for a university or post-secondary, there are other available paths that they could take, and that's what we educate these workforce fellows on. And so there's also a partnership with the Department of Juvenile Justice, because we know that some kids may not have the guidance that they need in order to learn about the funds that we have available to help them. And then the last one, in general, in this region, there is a need for emergency medical technician in order to be able to become paramedics. And so Clark County has reached out to us as a region and said, this is a need that we have for a talent of a pipeline. What can we do together? And so we have created with them an academy that will be launching later this fall to be very intentional for people that want to go into that field, to be able to have the financial resources to do so, because sometimes the financial resources are a barrier. So, and this is our super dynamic tool that Jaime will tell you about.
Thank you. So we're excited about this, but first, Mayor, I wanted to mention that the first time we came here and other subsequent times, Irene will attest to this, we had a knack for always picking a day where you guys had really controversial items on the agenda. Yes. And so one time we showed up at 5 and we got up here at 8. So today I'm feeling lucky, so I'm going to stop by the local casino, wherever that is, the first one, and drop something, because I was prepared to be here till 9. So this tool, what can we tell you about this? Well, sorry.
We're going to cut you off before that.
Okay. So this tool, how do you find it? It's on our website, so nvworkforceconnections.org, and it's you'll see a banner on how to get there. But why is it important? It's really hard to articulate our story because the federal government puts all kinds of measures and things in place. Seems like those equations in algebra, you know, that you're like, just what does that mean, X, Y, Z at the second power over this, function that. And so we tried to tell our story in a less complicated way. What this means, and again, I'll go into the filters in a little bit, but at the first glance, over the last 4 years, because our cycles are 4 years long, our program cycles, this represents our last 4 years, a total investment of $78 million. And by the way, when I showed you that big picture of all these funding streams, we only control, Workforce Connections only gets one of those 5 red ones. It's called Title I. And I don't want to bore you with acronyms, but it represents 20% of roughly $120 million that comes to Southern Nevada. So we get $25 million. So the slide or the data that we're showing you is specifically to the $25 million we administer every year, roughly 20 to 25. And so again, this is how you can find it on our website. But so the last 4 years, $78 million, because some of it, you say, well, 20 times 5 is actually 100. Well, about 20% gets in staffing the agency, running the board operations, the administrative cost, if you will, like running a city. And so of the 80 million roughly that went into service, you can see that it touched, or there was almost 13,000 people that completed this program. And there's other data too, if you want to know how much of it went into classroom training, on-the-job training, and so forth. But really the story is 13,000 people that weren't making wages are now making annualized wages of $173 million a year. And so that's the impact. And when you say, well, what does that mean in an investment? In an investment world, I think all of us are looking for something where we could get, 10% or, recover our money in a few years. This money, this investment, as you can see, if you just look at the wages, you get it back in under 6 months. Is that significant when you take somebody from being dependent on the system to actually contributing to the system, paying taxes? And this is, again, not considering the fact that some of these people, not only were they making zero and paying zero taxes, but they were perhaps drawing welfare, unemployment, subsidized housing, TANF, WIC, and so forth. And so that return is not calculated here. So we wanted to show you because we built some really cool things into it. On the top there, you will see that you can go, for the 4 years, you can go down to a yearly picture. You can, one day, we hope the second filter is funding, that it's not just the Title I funding, but all of the 17 funding streams that are controlled by other organizations, and that should be pushing in this direction. You can also separate it by county, because we serve 4 counties, Clark, Lincoln, Esmeralda, Nye, by commissioners in those counties. But here's the cool part, by cities, so Boulder City, and then also by the district or the ward of each council person. Now, part of what we're showing you today is because we need your help. It was easy for us to find on the websites of the cities, the other cities, how to break down the geography of each council member. It wasn't so easy for us here. So as we leave, if you could connect us with somebody on the city team that could help us map out the actual geography of each council member, that would be really good. It would help us, again, put Boulder City there the same way that every other city is. Yes?
We are at large, so that map is the entire city for each of us.
So each of you doesn't have, gotcha.
That'll make it real easy.
Yes, okay, well then, now I know, thank you. So we'll get to work with that. We won't worry about separating each ward or district. Awesome, thank you for that. And so please, until then, play with what you see there, because again, in the filters, you'll be able also to go to an assembly district. So if you have an assembly person that's representing, you can break it down for that. So again, that's the story of the Community Impact Dashboard. And let's see, future plans. So that's back to you or me still?
No.
Okay. Sorry?
Yeah, no, I'll do it.
Okay.
So one of the things that we're really excited about is our clients are job seekers and employers. On the employer side, under Jaime's leadership, we have produced that Employee NV Business Hub. So if I'm an employer, I can go there to get help with recruitment, with having a job fair specifically for my business. I can get help with having a workshop or processing people when I'm ready to do a job offer. And so what we need your help with is in doing just that. We really appreciate our partnership with Jill from Boulder City Chamber to help us in serving the employers. We are in conversations to solidify in placing a business service person inside Boulder City so that your businesses have direct access to an individual that can do that. And it could be small, medium. The large companies sometimes have their own HR person, and so they don't necessarily need a lot of help. But when you're baking the donuts, doing accounting, doing marketing, that extra help in the HR services for your talent pipeline would come in handy.
Barbecuing the ribs.
Barbecuing the ribs, yes. In addition, we're going to be having a workforce summit for employers this fall in December. It's going to be a first of a series of being able to look at the industry needs. Jaime talked about the 17 sectors that are best practices in our region for employers, and looking at the industry needs as a whole from entry level all the way to advancement, and that would become something that we are playing a role in. In addition, with a partnership with GoDaddy that we developed through the U.S. Conference of Mayors that Jaime talked about earlier, we know that this region has the largest amount of micro businesses. What does that mean? People that are 10 employees or less. During COVID, our entrepreneurial spirit, our creativity just took off. And so with GoDaddy, we're going to be partnering with them to do a micro business summit coming up in February of next year. Because of Jaime's leadership now on the U.S. Conference of Mayors Workforce Development Council, he will be the chair this upcoming year, and they will be bringing their conference, Mayor Hardy, to Las Vegas. And so we're excited to be able to convene those individuals. In each mayor's office, there is a workforce development subject matter expert, and that'll be coming to Las Vegas. And then lastly, NOB stands for the National Association of Workforce Boards. That's, like Jaime said earlier, there's 500 plus local workforce boards throughout the U.S. We happen to have 2 in Nevada. We're one of those 2. And they're going to be bringing their conference, or we're bidding. I'm already projecting that they're coming, but we are bidding for their conference to come here in 2026. That is huge because they have, not that I know of left the East Coast, but this would be the first time them coming to the West Coast. So super excited about that future possibility. And then lastly, like I said, and I know that I think Joe will speak later, our partnerships with the Boulder City Chamber, I think it's an untapped opportunity, and we're looking forward to being able to help her with job fairs and some other ideas that she has in mind. With that, that ends our presentation, and we would welcome any questions.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure I have a question as much as maybe a comment that I wish we did have a controversial item so that more people could have heard this, because this actually is pretty amazing to me. It reminds me of when I take my daughter to the doctor who has many needs and has to go to many different doctors, and none of them talk to each other. So it's kind of like a piecemeal, and I can't get a whole picture. This is impressive. Because it touches so many different areas of what it really takes to be able for a variety of people to become employed and or to solve a variety of problems, like Clark County School District maybe having one school with 40 long-term subs because there's no teachers. There are things that are needed out there, there are needs, and then there are people who also have needs, and you're hooking them together, and it's really impressive. I'm also stunned by the number of teens who are not seeking employment, to be quite frank. And so I applaud you for going out and helping them to understand by going into the schools. Sometimes they don't know what they can do, what's out there for them. Sometimes it's a lack of knowledge and a lack of understanding how you could receive funds or training to be able to become something different than sitting at home on the couch, gaming, or whatever else you do. You know, I'm
TikToking.
Oh, TikToking. Dang it. I'm like a generation behind probably because my kids have all graduated. So thank you. Thank you for putting those pieces together. Thank you. This is much bigger than the last time you came. You're working hard, and I see it's making a difference. And though it might be incremental at first, I see this having the ability to really change an employer and an employee's situation and opportunities. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you invite Jill Lagan to come up with you in this presentation?
Jill Lagan, Boulder City Chamber of Commerce. I'm very excited to be with this duo. They are pretty amazing, pretty impressive. They've got an amazing staff that just does a lot of work that makes sure that they connect those needs that you talked about. And also, I think that I might want to mention, Councilwoman Jorgensen, that me being a parent that probably enables my child to not go out and get a job, that I'm in the process of doing just that. So I'm kind of working the system right now, so we'll see if we can make this happen. But I think that a lot of those teens, we just haven't pushed them to the next level, and having some of these different programs and putting this right in front of them is really going to be a great way to not only help us parents kind of get move on to the next step that we need to be doing, but also making sure that those kids have all the information that they need. This is also an amazing program for the different business owners who have been looking for some opportunities and just haven't known exactly what to do. And the other one thing I really want to point out that Workforce Connections is kind of like the clearinghouse for all the information that we are constantly being funneled, but just have got too many things coming from too many different directions. We really saw it during COVID. We weren't sure who and what, and so I was really grateful for a lot of Jaime's help throughout that time, because I had to go to him a lot for some of the answers to understand where all these different programs are coming from. Who do we go to? How do we access them? And so their collaborative nature, of course, has brought it all together. So very grateful to be a part of this program. We hope to be able to be helpful here in Boulder City, not only to share Workforce Connections messages and all of their programming, but also to make sure we're connecting our employers and those seeking those jobs.
Thank you. Other comments? Go ahead.
Don't go away.
Oh, Jill, don't go away.
I think typically people don't associate the Chamber of Commerce with an employment procurement location or service. And so my question is our Chamber of Commerce the primary local contact for engaging the first steps into the Workforce Connections, or how will that work for those who we want to direct to take advantage of this?
So we will be doing an educational program to help people understand that better. Much like at the job fair, we'll have a partnership to make sure that their information is there. And then there'll also be an educational opportunity for us to promote this new opportunity and to make sure that we're telling people what we have and who will be there to help them, the days that they'll be there, and who it's going to help. Is it just for the employer, or is it for the employee? And our intention is to make it for both. There also is another. We don't realize that here in Boulder City, the Chamber of Commerce kind of wears a lot of hats. So we, help with special events. We're helping to promote those businesses, but we're also doing a lot of the job support as well. And so that happens with other chambers as well, because we know we're on the ground. We know who those individuals are that need the help, that need the assistance, but we also know those businesses that are looking to make that connection. Considering that today we got a phone call to see if they could get a marriage license at the chamber, no, I'm not doing that. And so I'm realizing that people call all the time for all kinds of crazy things, just if they don't know where to go or what information they need. So for us to kind of be able to now add this to our wear another hat and make sure that we're connecting people where it's necessary, and also making sure that the services that are happening in the Vegas Valley are also extended out here, so that Boulder City continues to have a seat at the table.
That's outstanding. What a great partnership. We appreciate all that the Chamber, you and your staff do to serve the community, and this is one really important aspect of that. I'd ask, is there a staff member with the city that is also the contact person that, if anybody's interested, rather, in addition to the Chamber?
Yes, so Rafi Festekjan, he's our economic development coordinator. So he is the person that can be reached out to here at the city, and if people go to our economic development area on our website, they can find his contact information.
Excellent, thank you. Fantastic program, every aspect of it. Really appreciate the dedication. Clearly, you are fluent in every aspect of this. I see very little referencing to notes. Mm-hmm. And that only happens when you are engaged in this and immersed in all of the services that are being provided. We really do appreciate it.
And Council Waltman, I would like to add some context to what was just said. 3 years ago, we worked with the Vegas Chamber, the state's largest chamber, and I know Mary Beth and Sewell and Jill collaborate a lot on regional chamber organizations, but we became the first region, or the Vegas Chamber became the first Chamber of Commerce in the nation to host an American Job Center. And that was the reason for one of those national awards you saw there. And so the model has now been replicated in 3 cities, and of course, now, as you just heard, the Boulder City will be the second chamber now to really get into this. And it makes a lot of sense, as you said. No, in the past, people told us, well, why didn't we think about that? Because we're trying to connect, as you said, job seekers to employers. Employers trust chambers, pay dues to chambers, and so it's the perfect place to be.
Yeah, it seems like it's thinking outside the box, but it really makes so much sense,
Yeah.
right? So, fantastic job. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Do we have a counselor at Boulder City High School that is associated with this and is helping our students to understand how to access this?
That's a good question. Not to my knowledge.
Not yet.
Yeah, not to my knowledge.
What would it take?
The cohorts that we have got, we started with 6 individuals within the region, 6 school counselors, and that has grown incrementally over, and our goal is to reach all school counselors, but not yet in Boulder City.
Oh, I understood. Okay. The
Is it
question
you
was-
reaching out to them, or is it them reaching out to you? What would it
Great
take for
question.
that to happen?
Now I understood it. So you're asking, has the counselor in this Boulder City High School been included in that program? That was the question?
Right, so that
Okay.
they can help our students
Yes.
here,
Okay.
not become a statistic.
Now I understand. Thank you for that clarification. So there's roughly, I think, 50 high schools in our region. And through this program, and over 3 years, we've reached now 30 counselors roughly. So Boulder City High School must be one of the 20 still left. And to answer the question, you said, well, how do you prioritize which schools are first? CCSD usually puts the highest need on the top of the list. And so I don't know exactly where Boulder City is, but that's how so far it's happened. Now, of course, now knowing Irene, she's going to go back, Mayor, and somehow put Boulder City up a bit.
Right,
so-
because these cities have multiple schools in them.
Right.
We only have one.
Right.
So,
Yep. I think that's about to change. If I see what's happening over here with the pen stuff.
So which brings me to the obvious question, how does this interrelate to your being a trustee with Clark County School District, and you bring a lot to the table? How do you see that functioning for you?
You know what? I feel like I'm in a very dream alignment, because to be able to tie education, workforce, and economic development is just, the best gift that I could have received to be able to serve the public. So I get to do that wearing different hats, and so the conversations are very rich. And I get, the best part for me is being able to bring the business community needs and demands for the future talent pipeline. So I'm in a really good place to be able to do that.
We appreciate your service, thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you guys. Jaime and Irene and the rest of the staff over there are amazing. They're an amazing team, and they get everything done, and it makes my job on the consortium so easy. And so thank you for that. And can you tell them about the podcast you have as well?
Yeah, and thank you, Councilman, because as members of council, we get paid for that, but we don't pay Councilman Fox to come and work with us. So I think we owe really thanks to you that you, through your public service, you come and give us hours, not just to be with us here, but again, to travel with us, leave your family behind to travel. So we do have a podcast about, just like I learned about TikTok recently through my kids, somebody told me, I think one of our board members told us about 2 years ago, we should do a podcast. And I said, what is that? And they showed me. And so now we do have a podcast. We're about to reach our 100th episode. And so I know that Councilman Fox has been in it, but we'd love to have the mayor or any other members of the council on it. We usually it started by just a way for our consortium members to know our board members, because they just don't know each other. In one meeting, they sit across a table. And so that was the original reason. But now it's grown to where we've had all kinds of guests on that podcast. So if any of you are interested, I'm sure we can send you a link to how to find it. Or you can go to just Workforce Connections podcast and probably find it on our YouTube channel or the audio platforms. But it's been a fun thing, and it's been very well received so far by, again, the Vegas Chamber told us we want to do the episodes. And so if you go, you'll probably enjoy some of those episodes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? You're likewise welcome to stay till after 8 o'clock.
Until 9? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate the presentation. We'll now move to number 8 on the agenda. Mr. Mays is coming forward.
Good evening, Mayor Hardy, members of City Council. Earlier this year, the city annexed over 2,500 acres in the El Dorado Valley, specifically in the Black Hills area. The next step in the process is to amend our master plan as well as amend our zoning map to designate land uses for this property. And so I just wanted to refer to you the map on the screen. The first map, thank you, shows the current land use designation in our master plan for this area. This is 2 general areas that are highlighted in red. A vast majority of this area would be designated for open space or open lands, and a smaller portion, around 200 acres, would be designated for manufacturing energy. This is adjacent to the town site solar development, the existing development, and they are in negotiations with the BLM, which owns all of this land that we recently annexed, to possibly expand their solar into that area. And so, for your consideration tonight is Resolution 7710, which would designate these land uses in our master plan. In addition to that, we have proposal for rezoning for these same parcels. And in this case, we'd be looking at government open space, which you see is that green area that's being added as a vast majority of the zoning for this recently annexed land. And again, that portion which would potentially be an expansion of town site solar, that would be designated in our zoning map as ER Energy Resources. This requires a public hearing, and with that, I can answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, I would open the public hearing at this time. Anyone is welcome to come forward and participate in the public hearing. Are there any written comments?
No written comments received.
And anyone on the phone? 589-9629. And anyone in the room would like to come forward, this would be appropriate time during the public hearing. Otherwise, we will move to item B under number 8, which is a resolution 7710, resolution of the City Council of Boulder City to amend the master plan future land use map and to assign the land use designations of open lands and manufacturing energy to the 2023 Black Hills annexation area. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 7710.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Discussion, please. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of Resolution 7710 say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. It has passed unanimously. That brings us to consideration of Bill number 1969, which is the ordinance of the City of Boulder City to amend this zoning map to assign zoning of government open space or energy resource to the 2023 Black Hills annexation area. Do I have a motion?
I'll go ahead, Koki.
I move to approve Bill number 1969.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. It's been passed unanimously. Thank you. We'll close the public hearing that we already did and go to number 9 for possible action regarding the airport ground leases.
Mayor, if I may, Bill number 1969 will become known as Ordinance number 1733, effective October 19th, 2023.
Thank you. So noted. Now back to number 9.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Marissa Adu, Airport Manager. Item number 9 is for possible action, matters pertaining to airport ground leases expiring September 27, 2023. Is consideration of bills 1970 through 1981 for the extension of those agreements for a period of 10 years with a 10-year option.
Questions, observations? Did we not use the word airport, so we can't do this quickly, right?
I do have a little. Just for clarification, for maybe some that are still concerned that this is not fair market value, we did do a study, right? 10 airports comparable.
We did a market rate study comparing 10 airports.
And is this a fair market value that we're charging?
As we evaluated those 10 airports, this is within that range.
On the higher end?
It is on the higher end.
Just a clarification to make sure that we understand that we're doing our due diligence to make sure that we are charging fair market value even on the higher end. So thank you.
And Councilmember, if I can add, this is improved ground lease rates. So it is within that range of averages of those 10 comparable similar airports that we surveyed. Worked together with the tenants to identify those comparable airports, and yes, it is in line with it. But I just wanted to clarify that it is it's improved ground rate. Yes.
Right, and thank you very much, and thank you staff for all the hard work that you've done, making sure that we do charge fair market for what's out there. So thank you.
While we have the city manager speaking, would you like to say something about an enterprise fund?
Of course. So the airport is an enterprise fund, and we only have a few of those in the city. So enterprise funds are business type activities, so they are self-sustainable. So any revenue generated at the airport stays with the airport and is used to fund the operations, capital projects, any kind of expense at the airport. So money cannot be taken out of that fund. So it's meant to be self-sustainable. We budget on a yearly basis, and since Boulder City cannot take out debt over $1 million without going to the voters, we do operate on a essentially cash basis. So every year when we budget, we look at expenses and our revenues and budget accordingly.
So we could say that we are not allowed to make a quote unquote a profit on any of these under consideration for leases. We are not allowed to use that money anywhere else to pay anything else except in the airport.
That is a good representation. So, you know, the city essentially operates like a nonprofit organization. We do not make a profit. We use the funds that we do make to reinvest into those capital expenses or projects in a various fund like the airport fund.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Go
I'll
ahead.
continue that line of clarification. Mr. City Manager, so the funding, or even Marissa, you could answer this is in your area of expertise, the funding sources for the airport improvement plan, for those things that occur at the airport, could you identify what those are, please?
So we have the rents and royalties that we receive is one portion. FAA grants is another portion, entitlement funding that we receive from the FAA. And if available, there is grant funding through the state aviation fund for aviation.
And those sources have been sufficient and are expected to be sufficient for the operations of the airport, not expected to draw from the general fund or any other source that the taxpayers contribute to. Is that fair enough?
That's correct. And I do want to add there's also the fuel sales that we do. And then, of course, there's different types of leases. So we have commercial leases with large operations like Grand Canyon Airlines and Papillon, among other FBOs. So, yeah.
Thank you. I think that concludes my questions for clarification, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I'm going to ask my city clerk, what is the most expeditious way that I can consider alphabets A through L under number 9?
Somebody could make a motion to approve bill numbers 1970 through 1981 in one motion.
I would accept that motion.
So moved.
I would accept a second.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to approve bill numbers 1970 through 1981. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. It has been unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, Marissa. And we'll move on to item number 10 under regular.
Mayor.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to note that beginning with bill number 1970, it will be known as ordinance number 1734. Going through ordinance number 1745, all will become effective October 4th, 2023.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And speaking of Track 350, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Brock Armitra, your city's contracts real estate manager. I'm here to present item number 10. This is for Resolution 7711, which is to authorize staff to seek an appraisal of land known as Track 350. A little over a year ago, the city processed a request for proposal to sell land known as Track 350, which surrounds the north and east sides of the Boulder Creek Golf Course. And other respondents, the city chose Toll Brothers as the successful respondent, and then directed staff at that point to then start working with Toll Brothers to come up with a lot layout and density plan that met the needs of the city. Several iterations of layout plans have been submitted over the last year. And Toll Brothers was asked to go back to the drawing board to come up with alternates. This is their most recent iteration. There are 3 proposals. Option 1 provides 114 lots, where the zoning needed for that subdivision would be R115 and R110. And would consist of single-story and 2-story homes with a purchase price offered to the city of $18.81 million. Option 2 would have 130 lots. It would only need R110 zoning to comply. It would consist of solely single-story homes, and purchase price offered is $20,020,000. Then option 3 would have 122 lots. It would more or less comply with existing zoning of R115, R110, and R17. That particular option does have cul-de-sacs coming off of Bristlecone or Gingerwood. I forget what that road's called. And it would have a combination of single-story and 2-story homes with a purchase offer price of $21.106 million. In your packet, there is a map showing the existing zoning to give you an idea what the zoning layout looks like, as well as the 3 proposals are also within the packet. Depending on how which offer is selected, the revenue derived from the lot sale, 10% would be used for capital improvement projects solely for the public safety operations of the city, and the remaining 90% would be dedicated towards the pool recreation facility. Staff is seeking direction from the City Council on which option you would prefer Toll Brothers to pursue, and then in your motion for Resolution 7711, direct staff on which option to follow so that we can then seek an appraisal based on that lot density and layout. Any questions?
Questions? So what you're expecting from us is, do we want option number 1, number 2, or number 3 to direct staff? And I have done math before, and option 3 gives us about $1 million more in this jigsaw puzzle of how we're going to get the pool. And so that gives us more money, has in between the number of lots, and gives us a differences of single and two-story, gives us differences of zoning, and so I'll start the ball and say I like number 3, and what do we feel as a council?
I also like number 3.
Okay. Councilwoman?
I like number 3 for a couple of reasons, because if someone wants to have a swimming pool, an RV garage, and a home, they're going to need more than R110. R110, you have 3-car garage, swimming pool, you're going to fill that lot up. So that gives the people the opportunity that want to purchase the RV garage, which is something that a lot of people in Boulder City want for their boats and their RVs. And so that supplies those types of needs in Boulder City. And I also like that there was some R17s for the mature folks like myself who don't want a lot of yard. So it blended a lot of different opportunities. So I really like number 3, plus it gave us more money. Thank you.
Other comments?
I'll lend some comments, Mr. Mayor. Throughout this process, I have stated that we don't want to sell our community for essentially a bag of beans, using the reference to an old fable. But I do favor number 3, and it happens to end up with more funding for the sources that we've talked about. I like that the cul-de-sacs, now I know we would have to go back, the zoning suits it, suits the existing, but the cul-de-sacs would have to be readdressed, which shouldn't be that complicated of a matter. Is that a fair statement?
Generally not.
Okay, generally not. Nothing's presumed. And it uses the existing zoning that's there. The number of lots is close to what we expected in the ballot question. It gives a lot of options for larger square footage homes for those who might desire a larger home, as well as Council Member Booth mentioned, some that are slightly smaller. I've been approached by several members of the community who have asked about the potential to maybe move from where they're at currently to either downsize or move to a newer home, use their current equity and move up potentially. And I think number 3 offers the wide variety of options there. The cul-de-sacs would offer some improved sight lines because at the end of the cul-de-sac there wouldn't be an occupancy, so it would allow some of that as you drive down Bristlecone. And I think considering the pros and cons of all of them, I would favor number 3. I would just ask if we have a commitment of sorts from the developer to stagger the single family, or the single story and the 2-story, so we don't get large blocks of 2-story, filling up a large chunk of space. Is that expected to alternate in some fashion, or?
Oh, we can ask the developer.
Okay.
Good evening, Robin Hogan with Toll Brothers. We do not place the same homes next to each other, but depending on the mix, you may have a few 2 stories in a row. It also depends on buyer preferences. So, but we don't place typically adjacent plans next to each other. We are very conscientious of our street seat.
Could you also comment on the number of lots, or just generally, that you have pre-identified floor plans for versus those that could be selected from your options by potential buyers?
Yeah, so we have not pre-selected certain floor plans to be on certain lots. The R17 area along Clubhouse, those will be, and R110, those are 27 lots, and those will offer 3 different floor plans. As we move up Bristlecone, where the R110 is, those will have 4 different floor plans, and the R115 will have 3 single-story floor plans in that design. So it's a nice mix. The 2 stories are mainly concentrated in the R110 and the R110 and the R17.
And so you foresee the R115 is predominantly single story, is that what you're
Correct.
saying?
Correct.
Okay. Great, thank you. Mr. Mayor, that's what I've got.
Thank you.
Do the cul-de-sacs go into both R10 and R15, R1?
Yes.
So which one would you consider that then, when you're considering, you said there's mostly single-story in R115, and you said maybe 2-story in R110. What would you consider the cul-de-sacs there?
Let me look at them real quick.
Right, it's both.
So the ones that are over 15,000 would be predominantly the single stories, and the ones that are under the 15 would be either single story or 2-story. So it looks like the back portion toward the golf course most likely would be the single stories.
Okay, and then closer to the street would
Be single or 2.
Single or 2?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for, I know it's a different market, and it's a different time than we initially started. Appreciate you recognizing that in Boulder City, we hardly get to grow. So when we do get to grow, we really care about how we grow.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity as well.
Any other comments or questions? I would accept a motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I move that the council recommend option 3 as the preferred development plan.
I'll second that.
Moved in second, in discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Thank you. Does that give you enough to work on, Mr. Armentrout?
You would also need to approve Resolution 7511 to direct staff to seek the appraisal.
Okay, I would accept that motion.
7711.
Oh, 77.
7711.
I move to approve Resolution 7711.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Say nay. It has passed unanimously. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Armentrout. Mr. City Manager, moving to number 11 on our agenda.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Tonight, item 11 is the city manager's report, claims paid. This is essentially the check register for the city for the last month, so the month of August, and there's nothing of note, but I'm here for any questions you may have.
Any questions? No questions.
Okay, I'll move on to item number 12. This is the financial report for the month of August. And again, there's nothing notable in this report, business as usual, but I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? No questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move to public comment. This can be about anything, and invite those who would here in the room to come up if they so choose. Or is there anything written, Madam City Clerk?
No written comments were submitted.
And anything on the line? 702-589-9629 if you have a comment. This is the last public comment.
Thomas Memmer for the record, 1310 Capri Drive. I just wanted to thank the council for voting the way they did in the special session over the STRs. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none on the phone, seeing no written, seeing no other public comment here, we'll close public comment and go to the city council's report. We'll start with you.
I want to say a special thank you to Jody Tyson Lowe. She grew up here. She works for Three Squares, and she just got a refrigerator for the senior center. And now we can have cheese and eggs and stuff like that that the seniors can take home on the weekend. And so I wanted to say thank you very much, Jody, for giving back to your community.
Thank you.
Nothing to report.
Maybe a few things. So, Public Power Week, thank you. Not so long ago, there was an outage in our neighborhood, and everyone called me because they thought I could fix it. Clearly, I didn't have the power to fix it, but I knew who could, and I knew who to contact, and they were out there, and they worked diligently. The main problem was somehow outside my fence, and I was watching them, and I appreciate all the hard work, and I'm glad there's a week celebrating what they do, so. Secondly, youth sports, soccer season started on September 11th, and I think we have 32 teams this season. And that's amazing. I see the lights on out there. I get excited. I know that there's kids that get to participate, some of them that might not have been able to through the ARPA funds that have been donated out there. And it's just nice to see a lot more kids participating. And I think maybe some people might be surprised we could actually fill 32 teams. So I think it's fantastic. We had an opportunity to do the Lend a Hand ribbon cutting, a nice new to them and newly redone building at the ABC Park. And Lend a Hand does a lot. It's a service that allows people to stay in their homes longer by helping them to be able to get the places that they need to get and maybe access equipment that they need to access. So I'm excited for them to have that building, and I'm thankful for them and all that they do in this community. Wurst Fest is this week. If you're so inclined and would like a bratwurst, please come and please celebrate with us, because those funds help Boulder City High School directly, which will go into my very last comment, which is it was just homecoming for Boulder City High School. I was playing tennis and I said, oh man, it was so great. And we saw the parade because I play tennis out in Henderson, and they said, oh, you had a parade for homecoming? I said, yeah, we did. And then I said, and then the kids said they had a great time at the dance, and they said, you guys actually have a dance? I mean, they have homecoming, they just don't have a dance. And I just want to give a shout out to that. I think that's what's special about Boulder City, because when I asked a couple of the kids how was homecoming, they said my favorite part was the dance. And I feel like us standing out there and watching that parade and encouraging these things give them a sense of belonging and of who they are in this community. And I'm just really thankful.
Outstanding. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll continue the plug for Wurst Fest. It's Saturday, right here at the Government Park right behind us. And to reiterate, we appreciate all the work that both Rotary clubs, but in this case particularly the Sunrise Rotary, does to support the grad night for our high school seniors. And this is the big fundraiser for Sunrise Rotary supporting that event. And it takes a lot of work from a lot of people in the community, and we're grateful to all those who do spend their time and energy to make this happen. But also, we're very grateful, especially for the grad night activities that occur, because they keep our seniors safe and in a place where they can enjoy each other's company and celebrate their high school graduation together safely. And this is that fundraiser, so we encourage those within and without Boulder City to come join us. There will be a lot of things that we typically see, and we know it'll be a great time. And we're bringing the Chamber of Commerce weather to show off Boulder City. I'd like to also comment in relation to water. We are still in a water shortage as declared by the Bureau of Land Management, or Bureau of Reclamation, I'm sorry. And so we need to, take the fact that the lake is better than it was a couple years ago with some soberness, because it doesn't mean that we're thriving with far more water than than we need or than we've had in the past. So we need to remember we're still in a shortage. I recently done some comparisons and reviewed the efforts that the city has done to conserve water, and we look forward to communicating out to the public the amount of water that the city has, the consumptive use water that we can never reclaim, even when we put our reclamation project, whichever that might be, in place. And so Boulder City, as a city, is doing all that we can to lead the way to be more water efficient, and hope that our residential and business customers will also do their share in helping conserve water. And we're still proceeding forward with the feasibility study to ultimately come up with the right choice for what we'll do to ultimately return water to Lake Mead to preserve that. So again, Boulder City is doing all that we can, and I feel that we're setting a great example. As a matter of fact, if you look at all the purveyor agencies across Clark County, Boulder City leads the way in the amount of reduction over the last year. And so that's notable, and we should take pride in all the efforts that are being done to do that. That's my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. The thing that has always impressed me with this city is the quality of the people who are on staff, and I tell people I love my staff, and by the same token, I love my council. I think our council is wonderful. We talk, we agree, we disagree in the open, in a public meeting, and I think it's exemplary to everyone in Southern Nevada and Nevada. I just think we're just wonderful people, and we all love Boulder City, and sometimes we agree, and it's kind of nice. But I think we live in a very unique place, and I cherish the opportunity that I have as the mayor, but the mayor is nothing without a council, and my council is wonderful. So I really appreciate the support that we've felt together with each other as well as with the community. I think we have been able to tackle difficult things, and we hear everybody, and we listen to everybody, and we are concerned that we do the right thing. And I'm grateful for all of us as we serve. And that's all. That's my report. And without further ado, council is adjourned. Thank you.